Mounting the optic to the rifle is a critical step in our process of shooting targets at distance, and we want to make sure that we're doing this correctly. So we're going to go over how to do that. I have in front of me right now a few things. I have a unloaded rifle. It's on safe, obviously. And then I have a gun vise. I want to have a way to lock the rifle into place because I'm going to be leveling it, and I don't want it to move around on me as I'm mounting the optic to it. I also have some blue Loctite. We'll talk about when you would actually use that. I have a torque wrench. So everything that we're going to be doing right now is torqued to a certain spec, and I want to make sure that I'm using the correct spec and I'm not doing things by hand. There's a chance I could screw something up, maybe ruin my equipment, and I don't want to take that chance, so a good torque wrench is always good to have. I obviously have my optic that I'm going to be mounting, and then I have a leveling kit. I want a way to level the rifle, and then I also want a way to level the optic itself. And then finally, I have the rings that I'm actually going to be attaching the optic to the rifle with. So we want good quality rings. We don't want to go out and buy a really good quality rifle, really good quality optic, and then attach those two things with rings that aren't really designed for what we're trying to do here. We want good quality from them. I'm using the precision match rings from Vortex. Those are serialized, and they're serialized because they're machined from a single piece of metal stock, and they're perfectly aligned. So I don't have to worry about, as I'm attaching the optic to the rifle, any opportunity for misalignment. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into the mounting process. So with the blue Loctite, I have a detachable scope base on this particular rifle. So I mounted this base. I know it is mounted correctly, but if this was a new gun to me, I would probably go ahead and take that base off, clean those surfaces with some rubbing alcohol, and then go ahead and attach that base properly. There's 4 screws here. I want to make sure I put a little bit of blue Loctite on there and then torque those down to 20 inch-pounds, and then you should be good to go. So after that is set, we're going to go ahead and level the gun. So we're going to take this level right here, and I just want to ensure that the gun looks pretty good in this direction. Everything looks pretty centered up right there, and then I'll go ahead and turn the level, and I'll do the same thing to the rifle in this direction. It's important to do this on the surface that you're going to be mounting your actual optic to with the rings. If you had something like a rail here on something like a gas gun setup, you don't want to mount it on a surface that is not monolithic with this scope base. You want to do it on the actual surface you're mounting the optic to. So I'll go ahead and put that level on there. Ensure that we look good. Everything looks good there. And then with this particular setup, I'm going to go ahead and co-witness that level with a level on the front end of the gun. And that's actually what I'm going to use to ensure the gun stays in the orientation that it needs to. So I lock that down, and then I co-witness that level on the front end with what I see back here. And everything looks good right there. So after that is co-witnessed, I will use that level to maintain the rifle in the orientation I need it, and I can take this level off and just set it to the side for now. So now I can work from the base right here. I'll go ahead and grab the scope bases, and I am going to dry fit the optic to the gun. So what I want to do is just put the rings initially on the base, and then I'll take the optic, and I just kind of want to eyeball it, and I line up where about this needs to go. I can see that with this location of the bases, it's going to be a nice middle portion on the scope. That looks about right where it's going to be. I don't want to get too close to the magnification ring. I don't want to get too close to the turrets. I don't want those bases or the rings to be connected right there. There's a lot of critical components internally that are moving around, and I just don't want to impinge something, so I just want a good middle portion here. That looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and put the optic down and then take the torque wrench, and as I mentioned earlier, everything is torqued to a manufacturer specified setting. With the PMR rings here, the bases are torqued down 45 to 50 inch-pounds. So I'll go ahead and increase the torque setting on the wrench to 50 inch-pounds and torque down the bases. Keep in mind that we have a little bit of play at times, so there's a little bit of movement back and forth with the bases. As I torque these bases down, just push them forward towards the muzzle, so we take that play up as I'm torquing down the bases. And the reason we want to do that is because as the rifle is experiencing recoil, we don't want that little gap in the rings to be exposed from that recoil, and that way everything is moving as one unit. So I'll put a little forward pressure as I start to tighten down the base here. And after they get reasonably tight, the ring is not going to go anywhere. And I can go ahead and torque down the other screws. I'll cam it over one time, and then cam the other one over one time, and I'll do the same thing on the front end here. Push forward, and then tighten down to 50 inch-pounds. So the bases are torqued to the setting that I want them. So I'll go ahead and just throw the Optic back up here and ensure everything looks good. Everything's lining up about where I think it needs to. It does look good right there. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and put the level on the Optic and ensure that the Optic is now co-witnessed with the level on the rifle. So I'm leveling the Optic to the rifle itself. Now I'm going to take the rear cap for the ring, and I'm going to start to tighten that down. As I do this, there's going to be a gap in the rings. I just want to make sure the gap stays even on both that side and the side that I'm on currently. So I just want to eyeball that as I start to increase the torque on that cap to make sure that I get even pressure down on the scope tube. So it's important to remember I had 50 inch-pounds when I was tightening the base of my rings down. I need to take that off, so I'll take all of the torque settings off of this wrench, and then I'll go back up. And this is 18 inch-pounds for the top ring on the precision match rings. Again, ensure that you refer to your manufacturer when you guys are doing this. The settings are different on certain rings, right? So I'll go ahead and begin to tighten these screws down on the cap. And I like to just get them started. When we start to actually apply pressure in this process, we want to ensure that we are alternating the screw that we are tightening in a star key pattern. So we just go to the opposite side, kind of like we put a tire on a vehicle. We want to make sure that we get that even pressure down and we're increasing it proportionately. So now I'm getting those screws to start to bite down. I can feel they're starting to increase the torque. So I want to check the gaps, make sure that they're staying even, check my levels, make sure the levels are staying even throughout this process. So if they're not even, I want to go ahead and reassess the gaps, make sure that they look even, and then I'll go ahead and very incrementally begin to apply pressure in that star key pattern. I'll go ahead and check the levels again, ensuring that the levels are centered. So at this point, I have them tightened down to the point that the scope is not going to move in this ring back here. So what I would want to do is take the rifle out of the vise, and then I want to go set up in a position to confirm that my eye relief, my eye looking through the scope, looks appropriate. I'm not getting a bunch of black shadow or anything like that. I can just see a perfect circle through the Optic. And if I am picking up a lot of that black shadow, I want to go ahead and change the position of the Optic either forward or back so that when I do mount the rifle, I'm seeing everything perfectly and I don't have to strain my head, the position of my head, in order to see perfectly through that Optic. So I want to do that throughout this process. After I indicate where this Optic needs to be, then I can continue on with the mounting process. When we do that, we want to make sure that we're on the highest magnification as well, because that's where most of the error exists. So everything looks good here. We're going to continue on, check the gaps, check the levels, and then apply pressure to that top ring. After I get one to cam over, I jump back to the opposite side and I'll get that one to cam over and then move in that alternating pattern. And I only get them to cam over once at 18 inch-pounds for these particular rings. I'll check my levels, they still look pretty good. And then I'll go ahead and put that front cap on. So I'll take that front cap and do the same exact process up here. As I'm doing this, I check the gaps again on this ring. They look even, and I'll go ahead and apply that pressure in that alternating pattern on each of these screws. Just turning them slightly each at a time. After we get the rear ring tightened down, we shouldn't get a lot of movement, but I still like to check my levels just to make sure everything is lining up as it needs to. After I get that one to cam over, I jump back to the opposite side, get that one to cam over, and then back to the opposite side until I cam them over each one time. So from there, I'll check my levels, make sure the level still looks good, and then I'll check my gaps on my rings, ensure that those look good on each side. After the optic is mounted to the rifle, we'll take this level off, I'll take the gun out of the vise, and I'll set up in a position and just generally take a look through the optic, ensure that it looks right, there's not like a weird cant in there, and just make sure that everything was done correctly. Obviously I use levels, but I just like to, by eye, take a look and make sure it looks good. After that, we're set up in a good position. We properly mounted the optic to the rifle, and we can take it out to the range, and we're in a good position to start engaging targets out to distance.